as of right now, the majority of our energy system is destroyed. When I was leaving Ukraine last week, we had electricity at home for 4 hours, and the rest of the time there are outages. And we are very worried of how we are going to go through the winter.
Now, since the invasion of Ukraine over 2 years ago now, Britain's support has been pretty much unwavering. But could that change as Labour do seem poised to come into office? The Conservative Party would like you to think so, perhaps. Last night, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson warned Tory voters thinking of switching to reform to think again.
They can achieve nothing at this election except to usher in the most left-wing Labour government since the war, with a huge majority, and we must not let it happen. Don't let the Putinistas deliver the Corbynistas.
Labour's former Defence Secretary John Hutton has been talking to Times Radio's Andrew Neil about what a new government will need to do next.
The challenge we face is how are we going to respond to an increasingly assertive Russia that is looking to push NATO back, is looking to weaken and damage the NATO alliance. And of course, if we do think about the unthinkable, which is, well, supposing Russia does prevail in the conflict against Ukraine, does anyone seriously think that is the end of Putin's demands that he's going to make to us? Of course it isn't. He is going to take strength from that and deploy that strength somewhere else. And if we really do want to preserve the peace and security and stability of Europe and our democratic values, that does come at a price.
Former Labour Defence Secretary John Hutton on Times Radio a little earlier. Well, with us in the studio is Rudik, who's the leader of the Holos party in Ukraine. Welcome to our programme and welcome to the UK. Now, I don't want to be too parochial about this, but loosely speaking, the Holos party would be equivalent to the Liberal Democrats?
That's correct. Thank you so much for having me here in the studio. And we are the first Liberal party to ever enter Ukrainian parliament. Right now, we are not worried that there would be a difference in supporting Ukraine for two reasons. The first one is that we strongly believe that it is not a will of certain politicians to support Ukraine and to support freedom and democracy, but rather a will of people. And I can say that coming to the UK, I just feel that from various people that they are standing with Ukraine, supporting us. People on the street saying, hey, I've seen you. How's Ukraine doing? You know, guys, you have to win. But there is always a concern on where the global situation is going. We are facing the changes in the European Union and potentially in the United States at the end of the year. And you know, we have always looked at Britain as of one of our strongest allies, not only in the amount of the support that we are receiving, but also in this matter of becoming a champion of a decision, because this is what the world is lacking right now. Somebody stepping up and saying, okay, we're going to do that. And we have seen that once somebody does that, the rest would follow. In getting us ammunition and getting us wide range weapons, then fighter jets. And somebody needs to step up. And we have seen Britain stepping up a couple of times.
And you really don't believe that there will be any difference in the level of British support should the Labour Party win the election?
I want to hope so, and I will be working very hard to persuade that there would and should not be any change.
Have you already had meetings with Labour?
Yes, absolutely. And there has been visits to Kiev by the representatives who assured us, of course, that the support would remain the same and will be strengthened in some ways. Once again, we are fighting to make sure that we wouldn't wake up in a different world where the authoritarian regime can do whatever they want, commit all kinds of the war crimes, and they just get away with that. It's just wrong. And we need to make sure that no matter what differences we have as countries, as politicians, there is something that is similar, this is mutual, which is our values and values of freedom and democracy.
Now, there are many listeners to Times Radio who are huge supporters of Ukraine and its people, and indeed their struggle against Russia and the invasion. But I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about the conversations you've had with Labour and indeed about some of the individuals. Who have you met from what could be the incoming Labour administration?
I think before the elections, I'm not supposed to disclose that, but I can tell you again that we realize that the support for Ukraine will remain the same. And we have got the confirmation for that. And we really hope that once there would be a new government, they will keep this promise. It's very important. Because every time I go back, I'm speaking to Ukrainian soldiers. This is the question that they're asking, like, what did they tell you? Whom did you meet? And like, what was the feeling? And I want to bring this feeling of that it's good that there is a democracy and elections, but the support remains the same. I think there is one point that in particular is very important. It's a matter of the spendings, because there were concerns of cost of living crisis here in the United Kingdom. And I think there is a solution to that.
What is it?
Using Russian money instead of money of UK taxpayers. As of right now, democratic countries hold up to 500 billion US dollars of Russian money that are sanctioned and that are frozen. And recently there was a G7 decision on using the percentage of those money, and they use this whole amount as a down payment for the loan to Ukraine. And it's amazing, but it's a halfway step. And we need to go forward and make sure that it's not good people who are supporting us. And by the way, thank you so much for your support. It means a lot to us, really means a lot. But not using money of those people, but making sure that we make Putin pay for the war, make Putin pay for the rebuild.
Yeah.
You know,
I think I don't want to interrupt, but it's important to emphasise, I think, that to be blunt about it, Ukraine is not winning the war, is it? Things are really tough.
They are. You're absolutely right. You know, as of right now, the majority of our energy system is destroyed. When I was leaving Ukraine last week, we had electricity at home for 4 hours. And the rest of the time, there are outages. And we are very worried of how we are going to go through the winter. And it is incredibly hard because you know that there is not a fast solution for building like an energy developing plants really quickly, right? So we know that it will be tough. But there is one thing that I have seen from our people is they still have this thing in themselves to fight. And I have never heard anyone saying, oh, we should give up. And I think this is very important.
So I wonder how much talk there is on the ground in Ukraine about Donald Trump winning the American presidential election. What are people saying?
There is a concern. So the main question is rather, does he really mean what he's saying? Because we've heard him saying many things over the years, right? And right now, when he is promising to have some peace talks, the main question that we have, and we have always had this, like who or what in the whole world can make sure that Putin will keep his part of the bargain, whatever the agreement is with him. And we have seen him constantly breaking all the words that he was given and all the deals that we've had before. So before that is done, like even any potential deal, it will be useless because it will be meaningless. And I think it's very important for the politicians to remember. And by the way, about Donald Trump, President Zelensky invited him over to Ukraine to see, because I know that it's very easy to comment when you never witnessed what have happened.
And he
there.
hasn't been to Ukraine.
No, he hasn't. And I think before that, he cannot be making those statements before he came in and he have seen what Russia has done to our country, to our people.
Kira Rudik, thank you very much for spending some time with us today. Kira is the leader of Ukraine's Holos party.